All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, welcome. Welcome to our interactive webinar on grief. Today, we will explore the complexities of grief, discuss coping mechanisms, and share personal experiences to foster healing. I'm looking to create a supportive environment for everyone and just let you know that you're not alone. Let's get started. But first, let's talk about who I am. So, my name is Michael Clark. I'm a certified life coach and former therapist. I was a therapist for about 8 years of my career with degrees in psychology and counseling. And I wanted to get back into therapy via being a life coach. So there's definitely a difference between therapy and life coaching, but it's similar in that we focus on healing the individual. As a life coach, I work with people in terms of being able to set goals, um, increase self-esteem, as well as just trying to help people fulfill their potential. Today's topic is on grief. And as it says in my bio, I'm going to draw from both personal and professional expertise when talking about grief, because grief is such a touchy subject. Afterwards, I will leave you with my contact information. So if you want to chat further, you'll know how to reach me. Let's get started. Today's agenda is about an introduction to grief, stages of the grief process, validating your unique experience, coping tools and practical strategies around grief, and then we'll conclude. In this session, we're going to cover the basics of grief. Again, the stages, how to validate individual experiences, and coping strategies and tools. I'll also share some personal stories throughout, personal stories of healing and the different types of grief that I've had to go through in my life, in my personal life. So first, the introduction to grief. Understanding grief is crucial to the healing process. Grief is a complex emotional response to loss, and recognizing its various forms can help individuals navigate their feelings more effectively. So first, let's define it. No matter the source, the way you grieve and your loss is valid. And that is something that a lot of people don't understand. Some individuals don't understand your way of grieving or even why you are grieving because it is not like their way or what they have experienced. So, manifestations of grief. Grief can be expressed through emotional, physical, and social responses, impacting individuals differently. Types of loss. Grief can arise from various forms of loss, including death, divorce, and major life changes. And we're going to go through some examples. And then coping approaches. Understanding the types of grief helps individuals identify suitable coping mechanisms to manage their feelings. So common causes of grief. Recognize these causes helps individuals to validate their emotions. Grief is not a linear journey with a fixed endpoint or starting point. Granted, there is a trigger that may start the grief process, but people deal with it in a variety of different ways. Some people are sad and cry immediately upon the triggering event, but others, it may not hit them until days later. Grief is unpredictable and can be like a roller coaster with many ups and downs. So some common causes of grief: death of a loved one, the loss of a loved one of the most profound is the most profound triggers for grief, leading to deep emotional pain. Loss of employment. Many people don't necessarily think of a loss of a job as something that might cause grief, but it definitely can. Job loss can evoke feelings of grief as it impacts identity, security, financial well-being, and social connections. And life transitions, significant life changes like moving away or divorce or health issues can also trigger grief as they often represent loss. So addressing grief is vital for mental and emotional health. Ignoring or suppressing grief can lead to prolonged emotional distress or complications. So it's important to acknowledge and process grief, no matter how hard it might be. And it is hard, it is not easy, but it is important to address it. So the mental health impact, addressing grief is crucial as it directly affects our mental health and overall well-being. Emotional processing, acknowledging and processing grief allows individuals to heal and prevent prolonged emotional distress. And finally, consequences of suppression. Ignoring grief can lead to complications such as anxiety, depression, and other emotional challenges. So as I said, there are different stages of the grief process. Grief is not linear, however, and understanding its stages can provide insight into personal experiences. Knowing that everyone experiences grief differently can help normalize individual journeys. Even though there are psychological stages that one might go through regarding grief, this is not a rigid roadmap. This is just knowledge that what you might go through is normal. So the different stages. Stages of grief, often described by Kubler-Ross, include denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. These stages can occur in different orders and may not apply to everyone. Shock and denial. Denial is the initial stage where individuals may refuse to accept the reality of their loss, often feeling numb. This can't be happening. I don't believe it. Anger and resentment. Anger can manifest as frustration or helplessness, often directed towards others or oneself as a reaction to the loss. Why me? Bargaining. Bargaining involves seeking compromise or making deals to reverse the loss, often accompanied by feelings of guilt. Sadness and depression. Depression is a stage marked by deep sadness and isolation as individuals come to terms with their loss. Isolation is common at this stage. And finally, acceptance or adjustment. Acceptance is the final stage where individuals find a way to move forward, acknowledging the reality of their loss. Acceptance and adjustment doesn't mean forgetting. It's just the process of the healing. So grief is highly personal and can vary significantly from one person to another. Factors such as personality, culture, and the nature of the loss influence how individuals experience grief. There is no right or wrong way to grieve. So the personal nature of grief. Grief is a deeply personal experience that can differ widely among individuals, reflecting unique emotional responses. Influence of personality. An individual's personality can significantly shape the grief response and coping mechanisms during difficult times. Cultural factors. Cultural background plays a crucial role in how grief is expressed and processed, influencing rituals and support systems. And nature of the loss. The specific circumstances surrounding loss can greatly impact the grieving process and emotional responses. From a ritual standpoint, I'll share a personal story with you. So I lost my mom when back in 2015. Every year since that loss, I still get her a birthday card for her birthday, as well as a Mother's Day card. I write something in the card, sharing about my life, what's going on, telling her that I miss her, asking if she continues to be proud of me. And I seal up the card and put it away. Every now and then I will go and take one of the cards at random, just read it. It's almost like a journal because I share things that have been going on in my life. And again, twice a year, every single year. I just did it this past Mother's Day, was the last time. And that's my ritual. That's what I do personally to help cope, help with the acceptance, help with the adjustment to the loss. And again, even though it's been many years, like I said, she passed away in 2015, I still grieve. Sometimes I'm still sad. And sometimes I just remember the good times that we had. Everyone's process is different. And again, there's no right or wrong way to grieve. Now, it's important to identify one's patterns of grieving. Understanding personal responses to grief can help in finding effective coping strategies and seeking support when needed. You may have to give yourself permission to grieve because sometimes guilt plays a huge part in the grieving process. What do I mean by guilt? Thinking or feeling that the loss was your fault, blaming yourself for the loss. You can't do anything about the past. Allow yourself to heal by letting yourself feel your feelings, by understanding that healing takes time. So patience is definitely necessary. And also by getting back to just loving yourself. So recognizing personal grief patterns is very important. Identifying grief patterns, recognizing personal patterns of grieving is crucial for understanding how grief affects you individually. Coping strategies. Understanding your grief response can lead to effective coping strategies that aid in the healing process. Your goal is to heal. Seeking support. Recognizing your grieving patterns helps in knowing when to seek support from others, including professionals. So validating your unique experience. Every individual's grief experience is valid. Recognizing and honoring one's feelings is essential in the healing process, regardless of the source of the grief. Let's take a look at some different triggers for your grief. Grieving after bereavement. Bereavement typically involves the loss of a loved one and can be one of the most profound experiences of grief. Understanding this process can help individuals navigate their feelings. The loss of, when I mentioned before that I lost my mom back in 2015. A couple of years ago, I also lost my dad. The biggest issue that really hit home after the loss of my father was the fact that I realized that the two people who gave me life were now gone. They're no longer in my life. They're no longer able to communicate or talk, or I used to call my mom every day after a martial arts class to check in with her and let her know how my day was during my expressway drive. It was a 45-minute drive. And I would be able to talk to her for 45 minutes, even if I didn't talk to her and all that day, that night was our time. That drive was our time. And even though my father was not necessarily in my life day in and day out, I still saw him a couple times a year. And I realized that that was gone. Two people who helped make and shape who I was were no longer in the picture. So I realized that I was on my own. It was difficult. So yeah, grieving after bereavement is hard. Understanding grieving is a natural response to losing a loved one and involves various emotional triggers or stages. Navigating emotions, acknowledging and expressing feelings can facilitate healing during the grieving process. So accept your emotions. Don't try to suppress them. And support systems. Connecting with friends, family, or support groups can provide comfort and understanding during bereavement. Now, let's take a minute to look at the other side of the coin. What if you need to show support for someone who is grieving? How do you do that? Well, here's some tips. One, be present and listen without judgment or trying to fix it. Just listen. Validate their feelings. It's okay to feel sad, angry, or confused. Offer practical help. Meals, errands, childcare, general help to get back into a day-to-day routine. Be patient, all right, with that person. Grief has its own timeline. It can't be rushed. And finally, encourage professional help if needed. Remind the person that they are not alone. Support is out there. Grief from divorce or relationship breakups. The end of a significant relationship can lead to feelings of loss and grief similar to bereavement. Acknowledging this can help individuals process their emotions and seek closure. I've gone through my share of relationships, divorce, just longer term relationships, relationships that affected me deeply, affected my self-esteem because I was so in love and the good times in the relationship were so good that I didn't want them to end, regardless of the bad days in the relationship. I stayed in the relationship because I felt I would never find anyone like that person again. So it was hard to lose that relationship. So when it ended, it was devastating. It was a significant loss in my life. I felt like a part of me was gone, a part of me was missing. So it took time to get over that, to get through that, to move through the grieving process. So emotional impact. The end of a relationship can evoke strong feelings of loss and grief, often comparable to mourning a death. Processing emotions, acknowledging feelings of grief can aid individuals in processing their emotions and understanding their experiences. Seeking closure. Closure is vital. Finding closure after a relationship ends is essential for moving forward and discovering new beginnings. You have to have closure or try to get some sort of closure before you might be ready to move on to another relationship. Or else the relationship that ended is going to affect the new relationship. Finally, grief from career transition or job loss. Career changes, including job loss, can evoke feelings of grief due to lost identities or futures. Recognizing this as a valid form of grief is essential for healing. Emotional impact of a job loss. Job loss can lead to feelings of grief, sadness, and confusion as individuals navigate their new reality and the uncertain future. Identity and future loss. Career transitions often result in loss of identity and future aspirations, contributing to the grieving process. Healing through acknowledgement. Recognizing grief from career changes is crucial for emotional healing and moving forward in life. Coping tools and practical strategies. So utilizing coping tools can empower individuals to manage their grief effectively. We'll explore various emotional and physical strategies in this section. Emotional coping techniques. Coping with grief emotionally involves allowing oneself to feel, express, and process emotions. Techniques such as journaling, talking to a friend, or engaging in art can be beneficial. So processing emotions, allowing oneself to feel and express emotions is crucial in the grieving process and emotional healing. Journaling benefits. Journaling can be a powerful tool for processing grief, helping to clarify thoughts and feelings. The example that I gave before regarding my mom and writing in buying and writing in a birthday card and Mother's Day card. That's a form of journaling. Even though it's twice a year, it's still effective for me. Talking to a friend, family member, or professional provides support and helps in sharing feelings, making the grieving process less isolating. Remember, one of the stages of grief is sadness and depression. That is where one becomes isolated, isolating themselves. That is when talking and having that support network is vital in order to get through that stage. Engaging in art or another creative hobby can be a therapeutic way to express feelings, allowing for creativity during difficult emotional times. Physical strategies for managing grief. Physical activity can play a crucial role in managing grief. Activities like exercise, yoga, or even regular walks can help in releasing pent-up emotions and improving mental health. I teach a 40-minute virtual kickboxing class, and time again, I am told by my students how healing it is. I only charge $15 per class, and people tell me that it is priceless compared to what they get out of it. So physical activity can help with the grieving process. Physical activity is essential in managing grief, helping to release pent-up emotions and improve overall well-being. Exercise for emotional release. Engaging in regular exercise can provide emotional release for those grieving, enhancing mental health and resilience. Yoga and mindfulness. Yoga and mindfulness and things like meditation can help individuals process grief, offering a serene environment for reflection. Mindfulness and self-care practices. Practicing mindfulness and self-care is vital during the grieving process. Techniques such as meditation, deep breathing, and establishing a self-care routine can promote healing and emotional well-being. Mindfulness is important. Mindfulness techniques help the individual focus on the present moment, which is essential during the grieving process. Again, as I said earlier, you can't change the past. So try to stay in the present. Self-care routines. Establishing a self-care routine can provide structure and support emotional recovery during difficult times. And healing through breathing, simply breathing. A lot of people underestimate the power of just taking a breath. Deep breathing exercises can help reduce stress and promote relaxation, aiding in the healing process. And finally, building a support network. Let's talk about ongoing support. Creating a support network is essential for coping with grief. Building connections with others who understand the journey and can provide support can make the journey toward healing less painful. Support networks play a crucial role in coping with grief, providing emotional stability and understanding during difficult times. Strategies for connection. Building connections can be achieved through shared experiences, community groups, and open conversations about grief. And finding understanding. Connecting with others who understand the journey can provide comfort and validation, making the grief process easier. So in conclusion, grief is a natural and personal response to many kinds of loss. and your grief journey is unique to you and valid. There are tools, strategies, and support available to help you cope and process grief. You are not alone. Let me say that again. You are not alone. Remember, healing is possible. Thank you for your time. We hope you found it informative and supportive. Remember, healing takes time, and it's okay to seek help and connect with others throughout your journey. Thank you.